there you have it.
There you have
Recording
it.
is in progress. We're
That's
officially
it.
YouTubers.
Here we are, our first YouTube. And we've got books
Uh,
out.
I've got a book
Smokin
out. You've got a
Bedroom.
book out. Got some Blats. Blat number three. You've managed to trump me with your two previous issues.
That's right. I mean, you're on with Dirty Basement now. That's on two, isn't it?
That's on two. Electric chairs on two. I can't get
Oh
past
yeah.
two.
See, you've split yourself. You shouldn't have gone for this electric chair, this Dirty Basement, that. You should have
There's
just
Smoking Bedroom. There's no more. There can be no more than two issues, Matt.
yeah, on to the next one. That makes sense.
It's
But
the 80s black and white boom in me means that I
mhm.
can only ever do two and promise a third.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, honestly, being generous by offering a second, really. It should be one
Yeah.
and then it dies, like most comics or anthologies and things. But with
Well,
this one,
let's not get our hopes up. We've still only got one of these, so let's not get our
that's
hopes up
true.
for a second one,
Sorry, yeah,
please.
I shouldn't promise things we can't deliver on. But I feel like it's a progression of like, 'cause you've done those like lots of hand printed zines, like made yourself, printed and stapled and all that sort of stuff, but shorter stuff. And whereas this one's like a chunky 45 page and it's like A4. Have you just been gearing up to do bigger and longer ones or?
No, I don't know what. It was certainly doing stuff quickly was the like because that was all done with it was on like kind of cheap paper. It was
Mhm.
drawn in Sharpies. I didn't want no messing about, so it kind of makes sense just to print it at home.
Mhm.
Um,
And when you're looking at it, it
but
looks like some of it looks like because of the paper and the ink, it almost looks like you've drawn it on this thing. Like it looks like you've drawn 100 copies of a book rather than printing it. 'Cause just the print quality on the paper, which is good.
I feel sometimes I did them so quickly. I felt like I might as well have just drawn
But it's
a
good
few
though, and
hundred copies of it.
but I think it's good though, and like that's something I want to do, like with future books, is like say quicker and like more streamlined and just going for it sort of thing, like versus doing with mine. I've spent so much time on mine making it so precise and like pristine. I feel like it makes more sense in a money sense and just in a keeping the momentum going, just to like have a book like say this is much more urgent and blast through sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
more
I think
DIY, more
yeah,
printing yourself, just drawing it and keeping it going.
I think for me it was kind of like because I knew I wasn't going to promote it because I sort of got a bit fed up with promoting stuff on
Hmm.
social media. So I was like, no, maybe no one will see this, so it doesn't matter if I don't have to use the best pens or like
Hmm.
microns that cost like £4 a go and
Yeah.
then run out after like a page.
Hmm.
So it's ironic really that we're talking about it because this is the most promotion I've done for most of my books,
There you
and
go.
it was the one I planned to do the least promotion for.
It's the most exposure for the
Yeah,
least polished work you've done.
absolutely. But yeah, you said you've been getting yours ready, sort of making it nice and shiny with a glossy cover. Did
Hmm.
you get it? I guess I mean, you obviously sent it to the printers, but were you
Yeah.
happy with how it came out?
I did, yeah, I was, yeah, like yeah, because like say yours took like you said you drew yours in like a very short amount of time. I started this book at like end of 2022, which is a disgustingly long amount of time. Because it just turned out that I finished Blat 2 and then led into an animation job. So I was basically working full time for a year. So I thought I won't have time to work on this properly. So I started it and then just thought I'll come back to this. And I did little pages of anthologies and stuff in 2023, but I barely touched Blat 3. And then when that job finished, I was like, right, let's get this book finished. And yeah, I was quite pleased with it. Although I wouldn't recommend starting drawing something and then looking back to it 2 years later because you're like, ugh, like coming back to old drawings is just or things I've looked at for a long time or you obviously and you've probably even got better since then. So it's like, oh man.
Mm.
But no, I'm happy with it.
Did you leave them or did you redraw them?
I'm most it was just pencils. So and I do pencils on Photoshop.
Oh,
So
okay.
I probably tweaked stuff, but a lot of it I left in. Like, I mean, there's a COVID joke in there, which I mean, COVID is still happening, but it's not as prevalent as it was when I wrote that joke. But I think it's fine. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with the print and quality that came out. Yeah, I went for a shiny cover this time because I knew from previous experience, if you have a black cover with a matte thing, they just get scuffed to fuck. So I was like, right, I'll make sure they're shiny so that won't happen. So and also I think it also just fits with
Especially
the poster as well.
I was suppose certain printers have certain habits of sending you like you order 100 copies and 50 of them turned up with sort of dinged corners.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
just fucked essentially. It's like, oh well, it's what you get for skimping on the print costs.
Hmm. I've had that where I've had to sell a few. I've always had them printed. I always get mine printed by a rich comic print in UK, and they've always been good quality. But there was once where it's like the box, like say the delivery guy just like kicked up the stairs or whatever, and it's like the last few copies I had to like sell for half price. Half price because I thought I can't sell them full price, these dinged ones. But I think I've heard before people say, "Oh, I got them and they were duffed up," and you can get them replaced. I think so. I think that it's possible, but I never did. I never bothered.
Maybe I'm too polite, really.
I mean, that's me
That
as well. That's why I'd rather
yeah,
sell
yeah.
books for half the price than have an email. Yeah, that's it. But no, it's cool. Have you ever been to a live drawing class?
I have not, but I have secretly put my phobias on display in that book. Oh, not
Yeah,
really a phobia, but just something that I always think about if you're like,
worst case scenario.
but well, or not really. Like if she's an
Yeah,
attractive lady, I mean,
sure.
I just don't know. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it as a man. You've got an attractive life model standing there.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like I've done live drawing. I've been for a while, but I've been for a long time, and like say it's 'cause I like my wife asked me that like, do you ever see these naked people and think like, ooh? And I was like, not really, because like you're in a room full of like old men all staring at someone. Like it's not really like an inducive to that sort of. It's not really a sexy environment. It's usually just lots of retirees and students like sitting in like a small like or like sports hall or something. So, but
Did did you when you went? We're going off onto life drawing questions. When you went, did you draw? Did you try and draw the life model properly, or did you do
the,
it in your style?
I always draw in my own style. I mean, I've tried doing cartoony ones, but I guess the reason I went to live drawing was to try and get better at drawing. So I was like, I should try and practice like drawing in anatomically correct and improve. So I've not really done it for that, but I've seen people who do that well, like Wilfred Wood, the artist. I think he's great, and he does like really like funny, like sort of exaggerated life drawings, which obviously aren't accurate, but still amazing drawings. But no, I used to just do it because I wanted to try and make as realistic a drawing as I could or improve stuff. But I recommend it. It's good fun. And you probably won't get an erection, so uh, I
Oh,
mean you might, but
well,
I can't guarantee it. But
no, that is true.
depending on
Um,
everything else.
Talking about Blat digging into the story. So maybe this because I'm an idiot. But this is the first time I realized that Blats have themes.
Hmm.
And I was wondering if that was a conscious decision, if that was something you ended up with, and does that restriction make it more difficult, or is it a necessary thing to keep you
It is
focused on
intention.
the book?
It is intentional, and it's just I thought could give me some direction. Like I find the restriction helpful, like in terms of I can do strips about literally anything, or if I'm like this issue's about music, the strips will be about music. So I find it useful to have a something to aim towards. And I might run out of themes eventually and get bored of the idea, but I found it useful for the first few, and I've got ideas for other issues that could be themed. But yeah, it was basically just I thought it'd just give it more of a nice sort of package together. A theme would keep things uniform. But
Nice. What are the first two themes again? So the issue three is music.
the first issue theme is work and play. So it's like about how jobs are shit or going to a gig or whatever. Like that's the recreational time. And then issue two was art. So it's all like along with the painted cover, it's all like people making art, people viewing art and stuff. And this one's music. I mean, it's not very eclectic music. It's mostly just like rock or like rock and roll stuff. It's not really like an eclectic music issue, but
Yeah.
you get the idea.
Uh, well, I guess that was well, I guess maybe like not sure how much Blat and Smoking Bedroom have in common
Hmm.
narratively, but one of the things they do have is maybe like the relationship between sort of being on the fringes of I guess like the people in my in Smokin Bedroom are kind of on the fringes of society,
Hmm.
whereas the people in Blat are on maybe on the fringes of an industry like music, kind of maybe like we are for
Hmm.
comics, really.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think it's always interesting to explore. And normally I find myself heading that way anyway, and just sort of going towards the fringes of things.
Hmm.
I guess it's obviously just something you feel drawn towards.
Yeah.
Same reason we like comics, I guess, or maybe surf rock in your case.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it is. Like, it's an interesting bit. Like I say, there's. I mean, it sounds hipster, but like I say, it's like that's where the interesting things tend to happen in the fringes of stuff, like the weirder sides of like niche films or like say music genres or stuff like that. I feel like that's like appeals to me, that sort of stuff. Like say something that's not your typical. That's why we like these comics. Like even like say even in comics, we're not buying superhero comics. Most, I mean, I'm not buying superhero comics. I'm buying weird comics about like weird creeps and like say weirdos, because that's just more entertaining to me and more interesting. And that's another thing our books have in common. We both have weirdos in our books in terms of like, like I've got my stories take place in places where like old pubs with like old boys in them and stuff, like, which yours do too. And I think it's kind of fun that too, like for this like comic small press stuff. It's like I'm in Manchester, you're in London. Like I can read Liquid Realm, Samuel Hickson, and like see what like a Stoke pub sounds like and feels like and stuff. That's all nice. Those are nice touches, and like the buildings and the vernacular and stuff. That's all part of it, I think.
Well, I think that's something that obviously another thing that the books have in common, as well as most of the people that do UKC with us, is that they're British, they're not like British comics like Beano, but like you can
Hmm.
tell they're like made by British people. They use
Yep.
slang. The settings are often pubs.
Hmm.
Um, they just go around doing British things. I do think that's something that as a group of creators we have embraced,
Hmm.
because it's kind of in like yeah, I guess it's something that we have as a country that is kind of a little bit more interesting. Like I like to use sort of rhyme and slang a lot in my books, because I imagine like an American reading it. You're almost like, if they don't know, it's almost like you're talking like a weird language,
Hmm.
which I find I don't know, there's something like interest. It's like it's weird without being weird.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that too. And like, and you worry that, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't put that slang in because people might not get what it means and stuff. But it's like we have Google. Like, if I don't know what a word means, I'll Google it. So it's like, like yeah, I can put like Kinnell or like in my UKC crime story, I had a character who's meant to be from Lancashire, and he used quite Lancashire dialect and sort of stuff. And one of the people messaged me saying, "What does this mean?" or whatever, which was funny, like a nice interaction to have. But like I say, I don't think you're gonna read that and be like, "I've got a clue what this is." I'm not gonna like if you're reading this thing, if you've come this far, you'll probably go, "I don't know what that word is, but I'll Google it," or you'll just figure out the context in which it's used. So it's not like
Yeah, you can sort
it
of
adds
just
flavor
decipher.
to
It's
the
like
story, I think.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, it does. It sort of separates us from maybe a lot of um small pressing, like I say, that you'd find at like an SPX or a TCAF or something like that. You get
Hmm.
adds a little, yeah, just a little British something.
Hmm. Definitely. Like Sam, I'm always drawn to that stuff. That's why, like I say, this UKC stuff. Like, and we've got such a wide spread of people all over the country, up in like in Scotland and all sorts. Like I say, we get a taste of all these different places, and like I say, that's a thing you don't see as much. Like I say, in particularly small press comics, it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's I guess another thing I'd like to slight touch upon, and I think maybe this is like I don't know if this is a British thing or not, but just the I feel for me like Smoking Bedroom is about the sort of the strange people who spend their days sort of doing that, like waiting for something to happen. Like they'll buy a load of like scratch cards.
Hmm.
They'll go down like the betting shop, try and win something.
Hmm.
I don't know what for. They seem to have nothing going on in their lives apart from
Hmm.
um. I don't know if that's like a British thing or not. Maybe
I mean,
obviously like being like lazy, like layabouts and sort of. It's not just this country, but
No.
in like a weird way, yeah, I guess there's something British about that to me. Sort of,
The way they're doing it, definitely, like say bookies and pubs and stuff like that's a very British thing. And and I guess like say also like class as well is more prominent in British comics than on British society than American stuff like I mean, the kinds of things that, typically those people in those shops and pubs are like working class people and stuff, which is, you know, our attitude to class is quite a unique one, I guess. Versus like say it doesn't, from what I've seen in America, it doesn't seem as pronounced uh, in comics and media, I guess.
hmm.
But
uh, one thing I was going to say about Blat, the first thing I noticed about Blat is that you must have paid for a color book just for one page
Mhm.
was the first thing that stood out to me. And it pays off, but it's
Yeah,
something I don't know if I've ever thought of doing it, but whenever I see it, I'm like, oh man, that must have been like twice twice the price to print this.
it's not twice the price, but it is a chunk more. And it was just because obviously I was reading like, it's obviously inspired by like 8 Ball and stuff like that and Blammo and stuff. And they're all black and white comics, which I wanted to do. And also I think probably thought at one point, oh, it'd be cheaper to do black and white comic as well versus a color one. But then I was writing Gone Swimming, and I thought it's one in every chapter. There's a color segment. In the first one, it's just a panel. In the first book, it's literally a panel of color in it, and then the next 2 issues is a full page of color. And like say, getting the quote is like, yeah, that page knocks the price up, and I was like, yeah, like it just because it's also like part of the story. It's like a device I'm using in the story, so like I do need it. But yeah, it is. It's an expense that I've chosen to take, but I think it
Yeah, it has to be done.
I like how it works, and I hope and hopefully it'll pay off in later chapters as well. The use of that color.
You spoke, you mentioned like influences there, like Clouds and Noah Van Sciver.
Hmm.
Was there anyone in particular in this for this book? I mean, the Clouds came through. You'll be pleased to know. Like, I'm
I
getting
think
the Clouds. I'm
yeah.
getting the Clouds vibes.
Mhm.
Was there anyone else that you were thinking of when you were drawing it?
Yeah, like because I kind of like the base my base in my brain of like Blat is like say that style of like stories is clouds, whatever. But like say now when I'm trying to, because I also use it to explore different art styles, like you did and other people do. So I kind of think I've done this style. I mean, I've set styles for Gone Swimming and Oh Boy stories, but the other stories I usually try and experiment with a different artist or different type of either inking with a different tool or just a different style. And so yeah, I was looking at different like I mean the story Shredder Man, which I found really hard work actually, like writing it and drawing it. I wasn't happy with it. I thought, is this good? I don't know. But I was for that one, I was trying to do my beginnings to do something like Smoking Bedroom, which is more fast and loose and less precious. I was trying to be looser with guns with Shredderman, and I wanted to just use uh just like black ink and nothing else, no like grey color or halftones or anything. So I was looking at artists who just use, I mean, I was looking at like Jaime Hernandez for like just like good use of black and ink line work and stuff. It's that on the first glance looks quite basic. Obviously, it's massively drawn. So I was looking at stuff like Jaime for that, and who else was I looking at? I was looking at Ray Pettibone as well. The illustrator that
Yeah,
did the
yeah.
Black Flag stuff. I mean, I don't know if I achieved that, but I was looking at that stuff as well to kind of like channel that kind of energy in it. And also, I read that Ibisu Yoshikazu book from Breakdown. Have you read that manga book?
Oh, okay. Yes, I think like, there's 2 volumes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I
Yeah,
was
they
stupid
are
was in the
really
early
good.
one, which I loved that. Yeah. And I was like, I'd love to have that energy in the story. I mean, again, I don't think I achieved it in the terms of the story, but with the artwork, I was trying to be faster and looser, which that just shows how tight I am. Is that's my idea of loose. I need to try and get even looser than that. But so yeah, I was looking at stuff like that. How about you? How about with Smoking Bedroom? I mean, with your previous stuff, like your work in romance, which I love that story by the way. Lovers
Thank you.
Undercovers. I've just got a warning saying this meeting ends in 10 minutes, so we might have to edit around that. And in your spreads for other things, your illustration spreads for crime and other things, they're obviously really big, dense melees of like violence and like, which reminds me of not that I read much of it, but like S. Clay Wilson, like these really dense, usually quite violent and like full on sort of scenes. So I feel like that must be an influence to you. But in terms of this one, which seems much more pared down, it's just like other than like say it's just racing through the story. What we kind of be looking at for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess because I wanted to be quick, I wanted to be quick, I wanted to draw it quicker. Then obviously the main thing to drop out is just all the crazy melees and stuff. But I was trying to, I was trying to keep the cartoon in from like an S. Clay Wilson,
Hmm.
but just have like a talking head or like just blood, draw it, cross out the background and just have that
Hmm.
as it was. So, but yeah, I actually keep just above. I'm at my drawing table, but just above it, I keep like this just some little S. K. Wilson drawings.
That's cool.
They're just like horrible faces, and I'm just sort of sellotape that. And I
Channel
remember
horrible
sometimes,
faces.
well, I just sort of look at them, and it's just like they're just so expressive in their like disgustingness,
Hmm.
and
And you
yeah, something
still,
like that.
sorry, go on.
Well, I was just gonna say, every there's no beautiful people in Smoking Bedroom. Like everyone
Hmm.
is horrible,
Yeah.
unshaven. Their eyes are too like might be too far apart, or the noses might be like distorted.
Hmm.
I guess yeah, that was again just looking at a subsection of the British population.
Hmm.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that even though it's obviously more, it's less densely packed and stuff, it still has the energy, like the frenetic energy, like there's like smears of violence, like a head smearing past and stuff. So it still has the energy of that sort of drawing. Like say it's just more streamlined, which I think makes sense. Like I keep thinking about that. I saw a tweet the other month from James Kachalka, and he was like, "We need to stop spending so long on these books that we sell for like we spend months drawing and then sell for like $4, whatever it's like." Say for it to be, I mean, not that everyone's main end goal is to make money doing this, but if you were to try and make money doing this, you would need to work so much quicker and so be so less precious about it. So I think that's a smart move, and that's something I want to try and like. So I'd quite like to do like a similar to this, like a one shot of just like a story, and just try and draw it in a. I'd still ink it traditionally and stuff, but I'd try and do it in a faster, looser way and be less sort of nitpicky about it.
Well, I do think it's incredible how little attention I pay to the art in some books unless I'm actually like, it's always like I'm beaming it into like my brain or whatever, but I'm not
Mm.
actually, I'm never like looking. Like I'm looking and but I'm not seeing sort of the sort of thing. So I'm sort of looking
Mm.
at it. And it's another one, like you say, it's one of them situations where someone spent hours and hours possibly over them pages. Doesn't matter to me because I think because I've gone past it already. I'm on to the next
Mm.
page.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the manga you mentioned. And they're just so quick, and they certainly like the guy wanted to like tell a story. The
Hmm.
little quick stories. The
And
art's
it's
serviceable.
yeah, and it's still funny. It still gets the point across. It's still they're still aesthetically pleasing to look at. It's just like much less labored over, and that probably adds to the energy of the book. And if it's drawn in a faster, looser way, it probably feels faster and looser as well. And
Well, I guess it's ironic in a way that we try and make these sort of comics on the fringe of the medium, but then spend hours making sure they're all nice and perfect.
yeah,
It doesn't really make sense, but
no,
there's something in us. I don't know. I find it hard to let go of a line that isn't perfect. But for
mm,
for for this one, I banned iPad use for
mm,
for electric chair, lovers undercovers, some of the dirty basement stuff. A lot of my ink in the last couple of years has been on Procreate.
right,
Um, but yeah, but for this one, I was like, right, no iPads. I looked at it and also I think I just finished Flesh and Ink with Tony Esmond as well,
right, yeah,
and that was 100 pages of me re-inking something I drew a couple of years ago.
Right.
And I did that on an iPad, and that was just it's like no more digital for a while.
Mhm.
And it takes away, yeah, I don't know, it does take away the nice crisp line. You just got to get on with it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I penciled issue one of Blat analog with pencil and paper, which I'm pleased with. But I traditionally like to do penciling on the computer just because it's so much easier and quicker, and you can move things and adjust things without having to rub out and start again, sort of stuff. So I just get the pencils as perfect as I can on the computer, and then I crack out the ink and the brush with the nibs and stuff. So it still has the analog feel at the end and stuff. And obviously, I work out where the lines are in the pencil, but in the ink, I'm choosing the line widths and um, the final details and stuff, finishing touches. So it's still that's the favorite. Obviously, that's everyone's favorite part is the inky bit. It's just trying to get that facilitate that bit, I guess, and that's the bit we enjoy doing and spend ages doing. But for someone to look at it for like 10 minutes, then next, that's because I was my
Yeah. Well, that was Ben Mara said he's never doing a comic book again that isn't in the style of
Mhm.
what we mean by yesterday, just because he said there's no point. You know,
Mhm.
people. I mean, I think there is a point because
Yeah,
fucking
you can see why
it
someone
makes
wouldn't
things
who's been doing it
sick,
for
really.
ages. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, yeah. I guess if your goal is to communicate a story, then yeah, I guess well, why bother spending hours laboring over something? For me, there's a part of me that just wants to make sort of nice objects as well.
yeah,
So there will always be a part of me that wants to make like like okay, I'll try to make the art in this book nice, and then
oh
I'll
yeah,
try and print it nice, and then like someone can have some joy in like owning it and putting it in their box of all their other nice books that they collect. But
yep.
yeah, I also I like to bat for both sides, whatever it is. Sometimes
Mhm.
they'll come flying at my home printer. Other times I'll
Mhm.
get the professionals involved.
How much of a bullet was it to figure out how to print that story in terms of
Um,
because I've done little zines like ones you fold into eights, and even that blagged my head. So like the idea of putting like a 40-page book together seems like a bit of a nightmare.
quite easy, I think, but in compar I guess I've just been doing it for years. The straw that not the straw that broke the camel's back, but the time I did a little zine called The Ink Drop. This must be like 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and it was about 60 pages A6, and then when you get to the middle, you open up an A3 poster out of it,
That's cool.
and it meant like when I was folding it up and cutting it, I had to like cut little squares out so it would fold up nicely, and then like guillotine it.
Mm.
But then like guillotine it in half, so I wasn't cutting the poster like at the side down the edges as well. And that was shit. Like, I hated doing that. And so comparatively, I think making the little so normally I'll just make like a little book like that and then cut it and then
Yeah,
like number the pages and it's like just and once you've done that a few times, I think you're all good. I mean, what I like the reason I like to do that so often is I do feel like I get I get a lot of control over it without spending like any money. You know, like if I want if I print it out and I've decided that I need a little bit more bleed there, like 2 seconds to adjust the Photoshop file, print it out again, and then keep going, repeating it until you've got the thing you actually want. You can just
hmm,
trim it nice and easily. But yeah,
yeah. We're just control freaks at the end of the day. That's why we make our own
absolutely, yeah.
worlds. Why not? That's cool. Well, I think this recording's going to cut out in less than a minute. So I'll just say that on Saturday, the 17th of August, we'll be at Gosh Comics signing with UKC and lots of other small press people for Small Press Day. And then come down to that and come join us. That'll be good. And some drinks afterwards. And then the week after that, Sunday, the 25th of August, some of us will be in Leeds for Stapled Comics Fair. So come check that out. Anything else you want to add, Adam, or you good?